In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the Cubs, and we will be talking about the Cubs, and we will be talking about the Cubs. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. So make sure you head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, I would ask you how you're doing on this beautiful, fine weather day, but I know what the answer is going to be.
Well, things outside of sports are pretty good. I enjoyed a nice walk today before it started raining again, and Saturday was beautiful. That was picture perfect. Hung out with some friends outside. But yeah, when it comes to sports, particularly baseball, yeah, I got some bones to pick. I got to tell you, I really have some bones to pick, and it's really starting to kind of to get to me right now. And I'm really hoping that we have something better to talk about soon, because right now this is getting really frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's like compounding on itself. First, it was like, okay, we're hitting well. The starting pitching is great. The bullpen is terrible, top to bottom, terrible. Then it's injuries, and then suddenly it's okay. Well, now the offense isn't doing very well, but at least the starting pitching is doing well, and we're winning games. But now it's just nothing is going right, and they're losing game after game after game, and it's really getting frustrating.
The offense is non-existent, completely non-existent. This offense is terrible. They are like statistically the worst offense over the past month in all of baseball. Their batting average, like since April 27th or whatever it was below 200. You have like 2 home runs over the past week and a half to 2 weeks, whatever it is. And they're both by one player. Ian Happ hit all of your home runs over the past week plus in one game.
And he was a player that was benched for being really bad.
Yes, he was awful. Hey, where's your $177 million guy, Dansby? Where's he? Where's Christopher Morel? Okay, yeah, he's hit some hard hit balls. You're below 200 now. And sure, hopefully some of those hard hit balls turn into, hits again, but when are the results going to come? How much more can we keep playing? Well, this will turn around, that'll turn around, blah, 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 blah. After a while, you're not getting anything. You're not getting anything. And listen, slumps happen, right? You and I both know that.
Yep, absolutely.
A bad week or two, that's normal. No matter how good or bad, every team goes through it. It's been a month. It's been a month. And you got bailed out in a number of games where your starting pitching came forward and really gave you a good outing so you could squeak by, or your bullpen just barely cobbled it together. But look at the last homestand. You went what, 2-5 against the Pirates and Braves? And both those wins were on walk-offs. You didn't have a single lead in any of those games outside of those walk-off innings. Not a single lead. You got out-homered 11-2. You had the Pirates hitting balls onto the street when you couldn't even hit the warning track. Again, power outages happen, but this is getting absurd.
Yeah, it is getting absolutely ridiculous, and Craig Counsell's got to be yanking his hair out.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do when your lineup can't produce? And listen, there are times when I disagree with some stuff with Craig Counsell, but you know what? You know, you're not gonna agree with a manager 24/7, and you're not going to get the desired results every single time when a manager does something. Um, here's what I don't get is why are we not using this farm system that the organization seems to tout around and pound their chest over?
Yeah.
You called up Luis Vasquez, he's gotten one at bat. That was over a week ago.
Yep. And you've got PCA clobbering balls. You've got Brennan Davis, who is just smashing things. What could be the harm of bringing these guys up and letting them have at bats? It's not working. Do something.
I mean, and listen, I get the justification of wanting to give PCA regular at bats, but you badly need a spark. You badly, 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 badly need a spark. And unfortunately, right now, the guy who started off great in Michael Busch has taken a complete nosedive. Now, hopefully, this is just a bit of readjusting, that needs to happen for a player that doesn't have a lot of experience at this level. But I mean, you got to start winning games. And I'm not saying PCA was lighting the world on fire, but the quality of the at-bats were looking much better. You were making better contact from PCA, and the guy's a menace on the bases and defensively. I mean, and he brings an energy that you don't seem to have right now. I mean, the lineup just looks dead. They look just so passive. They don't look like they have any energy. They just look like they're going through the motions. And PCA is a very, charismatic guy. We've seen what he does when he brings the offense. And I think that you do something like that where you kind of bring a spark plug, then maybe something can help out. I don't know, but you got to do something. And I want to say this too. Can we be done with the Nick Madrigal stuff?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
He, I'm sure he's a nice fella. Seems like he works hard. He's had it rough with the injuries. He's not hitting. Today, his error ultimately cost you the game. It was nothing, two on, nobody out. What looked like a routine around the horn double play ball skipped off of him. Brewers scored, and the floodgates opened. Listen, if you can't hit singles because you're never going to hit for power and you're not going to walk and you're not even going to field in a big moment, what's the point?
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, that's the name of this game now is power, and he has none. So if you have no power, then you had better be an exceptional fielder.
Yeah. And, he was a surprisingly good fielder last year at third base, but I don't really want to rely on that being your big defensive replacement at a hot corner, especially when you don't have size. I mean, sure, he's been able to pick the ball for the most part and make the plays, but how many times have we seen it where Christopher Morel leaps up and makes a big catch? And there are a few times that saved a few games. Obviously the Morel experiment at third has been up and down. He's been much better recently, but even when things were going bad, Morel helped with defense just by being taller and making. And how many times do we say, well, Nick Madrigal, as much as he's been able to field, How many times did we say there's no way he's leaping up and getting that? Like, my whole point is here is even though the statistics and the track record at third are surprisingly good for Madrigal, do you want that to be your defensive replacement?
No, no. And you know, we we gave him the benefit of the doubt early. We're like, okay, it was at the time, Morel was very poor at third base.
Correct. Yes.
And I'm not saying he's stellar now, but he's gotten
Much
the bounce back.
improved.
Yes. So we're like, okay, well, he's a contact hitter and he's a spark plug kind of guy, and he's our best healthy third baseman is a fielder. Okay, there we go. But we have other fielding third basemen, Morel, and they're all far superior hitters. Morel is come a, still a long way to go, but he's come a long way as a fielder. I don't know, and Madrigal is not adding that pop. I'm not the pop. He's not adding that spark as a hitter. So I don't know what I don't know what he's bringing.
Not much. And, we've tried giving him that time to be that 300 hitter that the White Sox hoped he was, and we just haven't seen it. We maybe see an occasional game where he goes like 3 for 4, but that's a dime a dozen. I mean, when you have like a sub 70 OPS plus and you're not even hitting 250, then there's just no value there. And maybe another organization kind of retools him the minors, reworks him, and he gets back. Again, it's nothing personal against the guy, but he just there's no value there. There's no value. And speaking of no value, there's another big thing we have to talk about: the catching position.
Yeah.
Bad, 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 bad.
Yeah. It's amazing is how many seasons have we had over the past since 2016? How many seasons have we had in the Cubs organization where otherwise decent to very good players all slumping at the same exact time?
It's
How many?
it's like a
It's like a curse.
high. They're like a hive mind.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling. And you know, it I don't know. It's been different president of baseball operations, different team, different managers, different players. Like what is happening? How does this it's it's just really frustrating.
Yeah, it is. And like, you look at the catching situation and you say, okay, Yan Gomes is old. We've seen players drop like rocks when they get old, right? It happens all the time.
Yes. And
And
I think we last year was that what's that called when you're about to die and then you have a miraculous recovery for a second and then you flatline again. I think that's what he had.
yeah. I mean, he's what, 37, 36? A lot of miles on that body. So Father Time wins that battle. Miguel Amaya has just been so disappointing. I think we all expected more and we're just not getting it so far. Um, I'm not saying I'm fully giving up on the guy, but the thing is, unless you make a trade, what do you do? There's like, we at least a few weeks ago we had Kirk Casale in the organization, but now he's gone. Like at this point, I would just take a viable backup catcher because it's not just the hitting, but the catching itself. The framing isn't good, the defense isn't good, and you can't hold on runners for the life of you.
Yeah. And at the beginning of the season, Miguel Amaya looked like, okay, maybe he's taking a turn, and uh, maybe we're starting to see good things from him. And then that is just, you know, pooped the bed.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you do here. Um, it would have been real nice to have a lot of those blown save games back because they could really use them right now.
Yeah, for sure. Even if you just had 3, 4 more wins.
And the fact that you're losing to teams it's one thing when you're losing to Atlanta. That sucks, but you go, okay, well, they're a better team than we are. I can live with that. I can live with losing to a team that is better than us. You know, you don't want to get swept. You want to be competitive. You don't like to lose, but you understand. But when you're losing to teams that you are better than, and it's just it's not sustainable.
No, it's not. It's not. Um, it's a situation where, you're in late May, it's not September, but you're 4.5 back now. If you can salvage anything in this series, like, if you win at least one and you gain a game back from what you lost and you move back a few games, okay, you're still within reach. And again, there's a long way to go, but you don't want to dig yourself another hole. And yeah, there are 3 wild card spots which are still attainable, but I mean, you want to win the division more than anything. And it feels like this team, the way Jed Hoyer puts it out is, well, we'll win the division, we'll go from there. We'll just make sure everything fixes itself. Well, we got to go through that again. Do we have to dig ourselves another hole and then just have everything miraculously come together in the middle of the season? I mean, they flamed out at the end of last year. They didn't make the playoffs last year.
And I they're already flaming out this year. It's like, what do you have to do something. This I don't I'm sure Jed's job is safe, but what's happening in some organizations could be a fireable offense.
Well, what I want to point out is this season might not be World Series or bust, or even pennant or bust. But it kind of feels like playoffs or bust, right?
I would
Whether
think
it's
so.
wild card or division.
I would think so.
I mean, you missed by one game last year. You hired a different manager, one with a track record, and you have this great farm system. So you got to make a run at that. And listen, I understand that you've dealt with a lot of injuries this year. That's out of your
Yeah.
control. It's out of your control. But this lineup is mostly healthy now. Maybe a guy or two isn't fully healthy. I don't know, but it's the fact that nobody is hitting. Usually when you
Nobody.
have injuries, guys get picked up by other guys.
Yeah. And it's baseball. You don't need everybody to hit at the same time. I mean, like, how many times has Daniel Murphy single-handedly carried a team on his back? And
Oh,
he's not a
sure.
he's not a superstar, or wasn't a superstar. He was a very good player, but he wasn't a superstar, and he carried a team. Pham on the White Sox made that team from like historically bad laughing stock to, and they're not the worst team in the league. And that's one old washed up dude. Like, So it doesn't take a lot. It just takes somebody doing something. And the Cubs is everybody is just taking a nap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's uh it's it's tough to watch. And it's just it's straight not fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's like you're almost like dreading when there's games. I don't want to feel dread. I want to enjoy watching them.
Oh yeah, I would love to enjoy games.
But it's so not enjoyable. It's 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 agonizing to watch. I
It,
mean,
it
like when the rain, you remember yesterday when they were under a rain delay?
yeah.
I can never forget spending all of yesterday thinking, please just rain this out. I don't right now the way this team is playing, I don't want to go through another torturous game. And what happened last night? It was another torturous loss. After an even more torturous loss where we actually did have the lead, and then you pissed that one away too.
Yeah, I just today I had the game on and I just at some point it's just agonizing. You're like, this is not fun. This is not an enjoyable experience. This is just sheer agony. The fact that they can't score runs, and it's baseball. You've got to be able to be like, okay, I get it. We're not runs every day. A ton of runs. It's just it's. I mean, even the Paul Skeen game where he just mowed you down. You're like, okay, well, this guy's just throwing fire. Like, what are you gonna do? But it seems like that's happening with everybody. Like I, it's ridiculous.
I just hope. I just hope. And maybe this is me overreacting early on. We'll see. But I just hope that we're not just in this pattern of, hey, guess what? You ran back a team that probably overperformed last year. And we'll see. We'll see. But you know what? I mean, last year they had that run differential that was massive. And Hoyer kind of pounded hard on that. Well, look at our run differential. Look at our run differential. Well, look at our run differential now. Every metric, every Pythagorean, win-loss, everything tells you and has told you over the past week or so that this is a 500 team. And right now they're a 500 team. It
Literally
just it
on the dot.
feels on the dot 500 as we record right now. It's a 500 team, and I don't think that they're as bad as this. But do I think that they're 10 plus runs a game like they had in that stretch to begin the season? No. Goodness, no. It's probably somewhere in between.
But
But
somewhere in between is winnable will get you wins. Somewhere in between has you right in the thick of the division lead.
right, right.
It's right now is they're so far the other way. It's making me violently ill. This is Cubs fan puke.
Someone in the bleachers, just the waterfall of yak down the shirt.
uh yeah, I don't know I don't know how you fix this. Like is it just somebody's got to come through a slump? Do you make moves? Like I don't know what the answer is.
They just have to be better.
Like, how do you make that happen though? Like that's the thing. Like
I don't know.
Like,
Like it's the only way I could describe it is they have to be better.
I mean, Council and Hoyer are getting paid a lot of money to make that happen, and as that they've got to figure something out because it is doo doo water.
Dog
And
turd tacos, Cubs fan puke. Uh,
as as my daughter would say, this is skibbity toilet riz.
well, that's one way to describe it. It really, really is.
Uh, so I don't know. I don't know what to even say anymore. It's this. I now know what the White Sox fans felt like at the beginning of the year.
Well, this offense kind of feels like it, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's it feels just like that. I don't know what else to say. I mean, they had like one game they were fielding 9 hitters that would have been the worst hitter of last year total.
right.
And the only good thing you can take away from today is Justin Steele looked real good.
Yeah, he looks great today. He looked like himself, and that was really good to see. Really
Yeah, because the
good to
last
see.
couple starts have been a little worrisome.
The starts against the Pirates were particularly bad. I will argue that the start he had against Atlanta, even though the final line didn't look great, his final line didn't really show the whole story. I think that he pitched a lot more promising than it showed. But this is truly a game where he went out and he just dominated.
Yeah, and he needed that. He needed that. And we needed that. This whole team needed that. And he went nice because you didn't have to burn through the bullpen. Um, but you didn't get the win either way. So it's just really, really frustrating.
It is.
Um, and you get Assad showing some chinks in the armor, which is not good. Last night you're like, all right, Assad's starting to give up some runs here. Um,
Even so, that kind of start keeps a good offensive team in a game.
that's fair. That's fair. But you actually got a you got a good outing from the bullpen for a change, but you just couldn't score runs. Uh,
Right.
like, so I don't know. I don't. It's it's just mad dumb. Dumb, 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 dumb. It's sports in general in this town right now are dumb. The Bulls
Yeah.
are dumb. The White Sox are dumb. Cubs are playing dumb. The Blackhawks finished the season dumb. And you're like, okay, at least we've got the Bears. And then we'll go through that. What's happening there? And it's like, I just want to see some victories. Like, is that too much to ask?
Yeah, seriously, just win some games. Stop being mediocre and terrible. I mean, what are the Sox now? 15 and 40?
The White Sox are currently bum, bum, bum. The White Sox are 15 and 40.
Man.
So that's that's definitely not a good record. Leaves a
No.
little something to be desired. And they're, I mean, to give them some credit, they like they've been playing good teams. The Orioles came in, and uh, can we talk about, like, all right, this is already a dog water team, right? Um, but the call, the infield fly rule where they called 2 outs on the same play for interference. Did you see that play?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And MLB Baseball even reached out to the White Sox saying that should have been called because the rule is, yeah, if there's contact to the discretion of the umpire, it could be called interference. But here's what didn't make sense to me. It was 2 on, 1 out. Pop up. Infield fly. How can you interfere on an infield fly if the infield fly was already called?
I don't know.
Because no matter what, that's an out.
Yeah, it's automatically an out. Number one. Number two is, how do you interfere? Like, he didn't touch the ball. He was in the base path, and had his back turned going back to the base. Like, there's nothing he did to interfere, and the player made the catch like
Easily. All he had to do was kind of maneuver around a little bit.
like I, it's mind boggling.
It is. And the fact that MLB reached out the next day and said, hey, that shouldn't be called, that speaks volumes. That absolutely speaks volumes. You had the tying run at first and the winning run at the plate. It wasn't like a 7-0 game and there was like a guy on second and there was 1 out, like that's just kind of like, okay, whatever. But there was a chance. There was a chance for the Sox to either tie or win the game right there. And when that kind of call happens in a big moment, then it's a much bigger deal.
Yeah, it was a bad call, and I I don't know. I don't know how you move on from those kind of things. It's like every time you take a baby step forward, you take several steps back between injuries and poor fielding and bad pitching, uh and now it's um you have uh umpire mistakes. It you know MLB MLB has a problem. It's, for the most part, I think the officiating in baseball is okay. Like, there's a few outliers, like, balls and strikes. Until you get robo umps,
You're
that's
never going to be perfect.
you're never gonna be perfect. And I'm fine as long as they're consistent. Like, if they're
Right.
calling low inside strike every time, cool. I don't care. Just to it. I in fact
Exactly.
that's my
Exactly.
that's my one issue against a robo ump is I like the I like that human, like, nature in it, as long as it's consistent. Um, but you get uh like your boy, um Angel, who's just abysmal. Like, I don't know how that guy has a job. Like, I mean, and Joe West previously, like, you just have certain umpires that make themselves the centerpiece of the game rather than being a background guy. Like, most baseball fans can't name more than one or two umpires in baseball, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You shouldn't know officials. Like,
When Angel Hernandez is there, it's a big topic of conversation.
because something's going to happen.
All
Like,
those years with Joe West, too.
yeah, Cowboy Joe West, um, uh, Hunter Wendelstedt, Angel Hernandez, um, who was the black umpire? He's dead now. I can't remember his
Uh,
name, but there was there's just
how
a
long ago? I don't know who
this
you're talking about.
um I can't think of it. It would have been, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember who you're talking
Um,
about. I remember Bruce Fleming. That was I don't know if Bruce Fleming is still alive or not, but I remember him. I think Bruce Fleming was the one that ejected Lou Piniella
Eric
in
Gregg.
his.
Eric Gregg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Eric Gregg was bad, but Angel Hernandez and Joe West are like kind of the two that take the cake.
Yeah, and at least Eric Gregg seemed like a pretty decent dude. Like wasn't always good, but people
Uh,
seemed to like him personally. At least that was my understanding.
Everybody hates Angel Hernandez. Hates him. He's and rightfully so. Like it's hard. Like maybe he's off the field. Maybe he's a good dude, but he's so bad at his job that it's impossible to separate the person from the job. That's how bad he is at his job. He could go save orphans and cure cancer in his free time in off season. But you know what? He's so bad at his paid gig that that it supersedes anything else.
Right. And you know, who was who was the guy that Hawk went off on? Oh, Wegner?
Who was what?
The guy Hawk Harrelson went off on?
Joe West,
Was
wasn't
that
it?
Joe? Well, there were multiple times. I remember him going off on Joe West when he called balk calls and ejected Mark Burley, but wasn't it Wegner? Oh, what are you doing? That rant down in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, who was that? Uh I'm Googling it now. It comes up with Hawk Harrelson getting angry compilation.
So you have to hunt through it.
Uh, mm, mm, mm. Mark Wagner.
Mark Wegner, thank you. Yep, Mark Wegner. Like those names, the fans know. And gosh, when you bring up Angel Hernandez, the classic time he ejected Steve McMichael at the Cubs game.
That was funny. That was funny. Uh, you know, like, and Steve McMichael is like the dude to do it too. Like, he doesn't care.
Right, exactly. What does he have to lose?
He didn't have anything to lose. I mean, yeah,
Well, in that situation, I mean, I'm talking about way back when, he's a guy in his prime, he's having fun and you know, he's had an accomplished football career, he had an accomplished wrestling career, he's just having a good time, having a beer and he doesn't have to worry about getting, fined from the league or anything like getting thrown out of a big game. So yeah, he's gonna go after Angel Hernandez.
it's the platform we all wish we had. And
Right.
and I don't know if you saw, what was it, the Yankees game recently where the umpire or the manager got thrown out because a fan yelled something because he didn't know who yelled it, so he just threw out the first person that he saw.
Yes. Yes, that was because it was Aaron Boone. Thought Aaron Boone said something and he didn't.
Yeah, it's 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 hilarious how it's hilarious just how it's my point is just you shouldn't know umpires are in baseball. Like just that's not their job. Their job should be yourself part of the game. Call the plays, and at the end of the game, if you're mad about a call, you go, "Oh man, that was a terrible call," and then that's it. Like, you don't remember who it is that made the terrible call. You just remember there was a terrible call in the game,
Right.
and that's fine. It's totally fine. I mean, if you just like, "Oh, okay, that was a bad call. All right, move on," because those things happen. It's when the the official becomes a person that's the centerpiece of the game, that's bad. And the NFL, I think, has overall some pretty poor officiating. But here's the thing: name a hockey referee.
I used to be good with these guys, but that
It's
was when I was a kid.
it's tough because I think overall, I think they're pretty good at. I know diehard hockey fans that don't watch other sports will rant and rave and be like, "You're so stupid. You don't know what you're talking about."
Oh,
Oh my,
compared to the other reffing, though,
yeah,
I think hockey's pretty
yeah.
good.
Watch it. Like, there's times where you get mad at a call. Everybody does. It's when you add a human element, making a ruling on something that's happening really fast, like that's going to happen. But if you watch all four major sports, other sports have real bad officiating.
Well, look at the NFL.
The NFL it's mind-boggling how overall poor it is. It's not one person. It's not like baseball where you're like, "Oh, Angel Hernandez, you take him out and the whole league officiating goes up 47%." The NFL as a whole is just bad officiating after bad officiating.
And, you also have questions about officiating too in the NFL.
You most certainly do. You most certainly do.
And if you're listening, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you do.
it's just, but anyway, that's another whole rant for another time. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Now, um, it's it's just it's crazy that games end the way they do, like the White Sox game. And I get it. There's not much consequence to the White Sox game. They're not playing for anything. But ultimately what happens when these do happen, the league calls, says that was wrong, and then that's it. Nothing else. Nothing else happens.
No, you don't get the game. You don't get the win. You don't get to replay that inning. You don't.
There's no
Nothing.
discipline.
No. Nope. Nobody gets fined. Nobody gets fired. Everything just keeps going on like it did.
Right.
Yep. That's the frustrating part. And in that game, were the White Sox going to win? Probably not. But give them the opportunity.
You had a chance.
That's all you ask for, is just give them the opportunity to try.
Right.
I mean, God knows they've tried a lot this season to win and have been very poor at it. But
Right.
give them the opportunity. The when something's that bad, like, it's one thing, it's like, oh, missed call, or a strike in a ball. All right. As long as it's not like super egregious, like the ball went 6 feet over their head and you called it a strike and that was the final out of the game. Like, you move. Other than that, you move on. But you should replay this the next time you play Baltimore, or next time there's a free day. Like, you should replay that, and because that's how egregious that was, and it's crazy. This is how crazy bad this was, and MLB can go, it's umpire discretion, but two things: one, all the umpires should get together and discuss that one. The other umpire should have been like, "Hey, let's talk about this one."
Right. There wasn't really much of that.
No. But two is, universally online, I would say the sky is blue. You're going to get at least 5% of people that are going to argue with you. Nobody argued that
Yes.
this the other way. They may have, it didn't matter. They may have argued. Nobody was like, yeah, that was a good call. Nobody. It was like the first time in the history of the internet that everybody agreed.
Right.
That is how egregious this was.
Non-Sox fans are like, wow.
Yeah, non-Sox fans were like, man, you got robbed. Cubs fans were like, man, you guys got robbed.
Yeah, yeah. Even some Orioles fans are like, oh wow, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I saw Twins fans and Guardians fans that were like, man, they got hosed. Baltimore fans hosed. Like they're like, we'll take it. I think that was the closest to it. Was, yeah, listen, yeah, there was bad calls the other way too, but that was a bad call. Like that was as close as you got to a disagreement. But everybody was like, that was a shitty call.
Right, exactly.
So I don't know what, I mean, baseball just goes, que sera, sera. What happens, happens. But it should be more than that. There should be a pathway to correct calls that determine out. Determine outcomes the bad word because they probably still lose. Calls like that where you can do a mulligan. There should be some sort of pathway.
Right.
But yeah. But overall, you know, this week we got the White Sox and they're going back to work with more Blue Jays, and then they get Milwaukee, so they get two tough series, and then Cubs have Milwaukee and then Cincinnati.
Right, yep. Oh, by one more White Sox note, did you hear about Pedro Grifol?
But he does.
Did you hear about Pedro Grifol? I just saw this. Did you see this?
No.
That Corey Lee didn't kind of didn't like what Pedro Grifol said in the post game yesterday about calling them fucking flat.
I mean, if that shoe fits, wear it.
The shoe is a massive clown shoe. But I don't know, because my Sox fan friends were texting me, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't know if Pedro Grifol makes it to the deadline." I mean, if you're losing the locker room like this, because I question, like, is Jerry really going to fire somebody?
On a functioning team, probably he doesn't. But this is the White Sox. They're not going to fire a manager. The only way this could happen is the fact that Pedro makes the lowest salary of any manager in baseball. So that's the only way. If he was getting a real major league manager salary, there's no way they're firing him. There's no
Jerry
way.
doesn't want that to go to waste.
No. So that's what's going to happen. They're just going to, they're going to keep him. And I mean, last year you had like what, people sleeping in the locker room in games and like,
Yeah.
and they didn't fire anybody for that. So like, what makes you think that they're going to fire somebody for, your catcher being mad? I don't think that happens.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just looking real grim there right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, it like if this was a functioning team, he should be fired. He's
Right.
bad at his job, and now he's losing the locker room or potentially losing the locker room. Like he very well should be fired, but this is not a functioning organization. Like nobody's gonna get fired. Don't fire people.
They'll promote Pedro Grifol.
He'll be the president of baseball operations.
He could be the VP right next to Chris Getz, who will be right under God Emperors Jerry Reinsdorf and Tony La Russa.
Yeah, uh it's super wild. Like, this is um he absolutely should be fired. But um it's just not one of those things that actually does happen. uh this is like a joke organization.
Yeah, and it ain't getting any easier to watch.
No, it's not. Um yeah, I feel like awful for the White Sox fans. I mean, we're living our own hell as Cubs fans, but this is definitely not good a good situation. At least we haven't lost the locker room. At least we haven't, you know, uh we actually have a real manager. Um the White Sox are in trouble.
Yeah, it's hopefully some of their young pitchers can make this worth watching. I mean, I know Nastrini has struggled, but they got that guy they got from San Diego pitching well, and um, you just hope that Garrett Crochet keeps pitching well and Eric Fetty keeps pitching great, so you could trade him for something. And I wonder if Tommy Pham goes sooner than later because you know, big opening just took place in Atlanta. If you saw that,
No, what happened?
uh, Acuna is out for the
Oh yeah,
year.
yeah, 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 yeah. I saw that. I saw that.
So I
That
just think a guy like Tommy Pham, there might be guys calling the White Sox, teams calling the White Sox sooner than you think.
I mean, the White Sox should be, usually you don't see trades in this early. Uh but um this is circumstances, like they're so out of it.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too is like, Tommy Pham isn't like a big all-star name, right? He's having a great season, but like you're not trading, Bryce Harper or even Luis Robert. You're trading a veteran journeyman who has happened to kind of spark some teams of recent.
Yeah. Um he's been playing well. But I mean, what are the odds that continues? So I don't know. Sell him while the iron is hot. Like it's not like he's gonna get you more later on, or he's gonna do better. Trade him
Right.
while the iron is hot. Uh, should we talk a little football?
Sure.
There's not a ton going on. Um, but the in OTAs, you finally saw the offense, the much heralded offense, struggle mightily. Um, and the talking to some of the defensive players, they were like, you know what, we didn't like that the offense took it to us the first practice, so we came um, we came and got them, and boy did they, boy did they. Uh, the defense really took it to the offense and made the offense look bad. And I get the white or the all the offensive players weren't there. You were missing a bunch of guys, but it's it's also the defense is an experienced defense. Almost all of these defensive players played together last year, and defenses usually gel much earlier than offenses. and it's same defensive scheme. It's a brand new offense. Like, I get all those things. It's just that we as a fan base have so much riding on this offense doing something good.
Yeah, and you know what I like that after the defense kind of returned the favor, you had guys like Bird texting like Caleb Williams like, "Hey, we got you. This is going to make you stronger." Like it's that kind of thing that you like to see.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. I hope that, you know, the offense regroups after this, licks their wounds, and is like, all right, um, let's go out there and be better. Um, and that's the only thing you can hope. Um, because we need this offense to do something this year. I'm not saying they've got to be a top 5 offense, but boy, they better be a top 15 offense.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what you're hoping for. You know, you want something that can function and showing that your future quarterback is going to be good, even if it's going to be a rookie year and there's going to be growing pains. You're going to have the pressure on him to be, better than any other Bears quarterback you have, which the bar isn't very high, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And, we'll see how he kind of handles this throughout camp. But even with all that pressure, with the high expectations, whatever it is, um, the reality is there's probably going to be some struggles. And it does open up a little PTSD, not going to lie. But I think right now we just got to try to keep our heads somewhat held in check. It's not always easy. But there is a reality that's not always going to be smooth.
I mean, and it's also May.
Yes.
If we're seeing this in the first preseason game, then and through training camp, all right, maybe you're a little nervous. But if you're seeing this in the first preseason game, all right, I will lead the charge in being nervous. But for right now, this is OTAs. I just want to temper expectations. It's just, I think you used the right term. PTSD is, we're used to bad things can happen. They will. And that's really what seems to, anytime we start to see the bad thing happen as a knee-jerk reaction as a Chicago fan, like, there it is. It's all over. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even be blamed for this one. I did not buy a Caleb Williams jersey. Didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't want to buy any more jerseys. It just of anyone.
I will buy. I own a Bronco Nagurski jersey, and I'm okay with that because he
Oh
is what
yeah,
it is.
you can own past players. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. You have nothing to lose.
Walter Payton, Julius Peppers, Devin Hester, Lance Briggs. You know
I
what?
got my Matt Forte still.
I may go get a Matt Forte jersey or a Dan Hampton jersey. You don't see a lot of Dan Hampton jerseys. But
No, you
actually,
don't. And
the
he was a
one,
great player.
if I were to get another jersey, do you know who it would be right now? I've made that definitive decision. William the Refrigerator Perry.
Hmm.
Because you know why? Because he was the fridge. He may be large, but he's no dumb cookie.
Oh, the fridge.
And you know what? Nothing will ever change. He's the fridge, and nothing will change that memory. Nothing will change. Me buying a jersey will change. Uh, like the fact that I buy a jersey won't change anything he does on the field. But if I buy a Caleb Williams jersey, he's gonna be Justin Fields too. It's gonna happen. So I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm not doing it either.
So, yeah, we've just got a couple days left of these OTAs, and then, um, they'll be off until I think training camp. Maybe there's uh, a late June other camp, but there's not much left before training camp.
No, there's not.
And on seven, and just see what worked, what didn't work, what they understood, what they didn't understand. Look at that for a few weeks, come back, regroup at training camp, hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And that's when my opinion of everything will start.
Yeah, that's the more accurate time to judge when you actually get more of a simulation.
Yeah, so there's one more thing to consider with the Bears is that on Thursday's practice, there was a bunch of players that were absent. Darnell Wright was absent, Nate Davis, Montez Sweat, Velus Jones, Keenan Allen were all absent. I know the flu said that everybody had been in the building at some point during OTAs but not on that practice. So that's the good part is nobody skipped, even though it's voluntary. Nobody skipped. They may have skipped that day of practice, but I think the one we all worried about was the Nate Davis because of what happened last year.
Right.
Him being out, and right, we understood why after we heard the news. It's understandable, but from a trying to win football games standpoint, I hope he's there this year and is ready to play.
Yeah, for sure. That was that was a tough saga last year, and we understand that there was a lot more to it than we knew initially, but yeah, definitely you know, something that was there was just it was complicated.
Yeah. Let's see. Um, yeah, I think that might be it for the Bears. It's not a lot going on.
No, there's not. There's not going to be a lot going on for a while.
No, which is fine. It's nice to get a little bit of a break. Um, it's I know the Bears training camp will start earlier than usual because they're playing in the Hall of Fame game. Um, but yeah, so we soon enough we will see them practicing at Hallis, and it'll be fun to see all the fans there and getting the offensive line getting pads on and making some hits because that's when the games really start.
Right, exactly.
Want to talk a little hockey?
Sure.
Not a lot going on, except Connor Bedard uh, played in the Worlds for the first time and had a lot of ups, had some downs, but I think that's a good opportunity for him.
Yeah, and he's putting on a show. He's playing very, very well. Did you see his shootout goal the other day?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's some things that he did where he just looked really good, um, but he's 18 years old, and he had some moments there that where they cut his shifts and they cut his ice time and that's I think that's good for him. It's good for him to finally experience a where you're just not the best at everywhere you go. He had a lot of really good players around him, and um, you finally saw him have a little bit of frustration with himself and with the media. Definitely
Mhm.
with the media. And I think that's good. I think that's a learning situation. You come
It
back and
is, yes.
you go, okay, hey, here's something I distinctly need to work on, you know. Um, and that's that's good for him. It's having being the best all the time doesn't give you opportunity for growth.
No, it doesn't. And you know, that's when you have a perfectionist like he is, you're gonna see him go through stuff.
Yeah. Um, and here's a story. So Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky are you'd consider them two of the all-time greats, correct?
Oh yeah, probably two of the top five. I mean, Gretzky's number one. Lemieux is definitely a top five.
Neither one of them won the World Championships. They're not part of the Triple Gold Club uh, because they both won Olympic golds. They both won Stanley Cups. Never won the World Championship. They each played one, um, and uh, uh, Lemieux got a silver. Gretzky got a bronze. So yeah, this is a Crosby when he was 18 was on a team that finished fourth,
It's
and
true.
he didn't win it until like 4 years later. 4 years later, he didn't. That's when he won it. No, sorry, more than that. Sorry, longer than that. Longer than I'm mathing wrong here. He was 2006. He was 18 years old, and Canada finished fourth, so they didn't get a medal. And in 2015, he was the captain of a stacked roster that got gold in Prague. So yeah, this is um, a lot of pressure and a lot of big time hockey and a lot of eyes on you. And it's a tough stage. So I'm not upset. I think it's good for him.
I think so too. I think so too. And it's going to be
Uh,
exciting to watch him next year try it again.
yeah,
You know, think about if he didn't get hurt last year with the jaw. You know, the numbers were good as they were on a really bad team. Imagine if he was fully healthy that year. And then hopefully this year you see another rise. You know, you'll see a better team around him and he'll take another step.
yeah. And you listen to the people talk about him too on his team. Tavares said that he reminds him of Crosby, the way he deals with people and how he's in the locker room. Um, the one of the coaches said that he's 18 going on 25. Um, here's another quote. He's just a pro. You see him on the ice and you see how good he is, and it just makes sense when you see him off the ice. Um, so it's all a learning opportunity. At 18 years old, that's all life should be, learning opportunities.
Exactly.
And then the other bit of Blackhawks news is a month or better part of a month before the draft, the Blackhawks made a draft pick swap.
That they did. They moved up a few spots, and you know, maybe that tells you that Davidson really likes a crop of guys that are in that circle. But yeah, I wasn't expecting a trade this early, but the fact that he's already aggressive doing it, you know, it's like okay,
Yeah. So he traded picks 20, 54, and 61 for picks 18 and 50. So I moved up 2 spots in the first from 20 to 18, moved up 4 spots in the second from 54 to 50, and gave up the number 61 pick to do that. And if you look at the chart of the draft pick value, it favors the Islanders, but not by a terrible amount. Like I think to even it out, if the Islanders threw their 5th round pick in, it evens out. So
right,
it's the difference of a 5th round pick, which in NHL is really just an absolute lottery ticket. Um, so I'm okay with that, especially when, you move up from that 20 to 18. I think I think that's the big one.
We just got some big breaking news.
Oh, what's going on?
You know how we were talking about Angel Hernandez?
Yes.
He's going to be retiring. Bob
Yeah.
Nightingale just announced.
Whoa. Wow. I wonder if he was forcibly retired.
Oh, let me read the article here from USA Today. Oh, but it's freaking behind a paywall.
Stupid paywall.
Okay, here we go. Hernandez, 62, worked his last game May 9th as the home plate umpire between the White Sox and Guardians at Guaranteed Rate Field and has never come back. Hernandez, baseball no country umpire. He last umpired a World Series game in '05 and a League Championship Series game in 2016. So he hasn't been in the World Series since the White Sox a few years back.
Is it going to be effective immediately?
Let's see. Land, land-based, blah, 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 blah. Oh boy, the quotes. Angel is horrible. Don't get me going on Angel now. Major League Baseball needs to do something about Angel. It doesn't matter how many times he sues MLB, he's as bad as there is. I don't understand why he's doing games, said Yankees pitcher CC Sabathia. He's always bad. He's a bad umpire. Boy, Bob Nightingale is just bringing quotes of a lot of, whew. Let's see. Angel Hernandez, the polarizing veteran umpire who has drawn the wrath and exasperation from players, managers, and fans alike over the decades, is retiring Tuesday from Major League Baseball, a high-ranking baseball official told USA Today.
Wow.
So,
That must have mean he got fired.
or, like, hey, why don't you retire? Um, we're telling you to retire.
Yeah, he he was bad. He's a bad man at his job. Um, so good riddance, and we won't see that problem anymore.
Oh yeah, Twitter's already blowing up.
Oh, I know. uh,
Oh no, somebody posted the meme. Funeral food be so good, I'd be forgetting who died.
oh, oh man. Oh, Angel Hernandez. Uh, but yeah, that's amazing news.
So it's funny. That's really funny. We were just talking about it, and there it is.
We, you know, the Bears not winning the Super Bowl is terrible, and somebody needs to do something to change that. Let's manifest this, make this happen.
Yeah. And the Cubs need to stop losing. I mean, this is just tragedy to see this happen.
Uh, we manifested. Every baseball fan owes us and this podcast some level of gratitude because we manifested this happening. Let's take credit. Let's take full credit
Okay,
for
all
this.
right, we're taking credit right now. We are taking credit right here, right now.
Uh, is there anything else you want to talk about? It's been a slow sports week, except for our baseball team stinking.
Yeah, no, I don't really have much else to say, to be honest with you. The one thing I'll just leave this show with is even if the Bulls or Blackhawks are not in the playoffs, can I at least say it's been kind of fun following and watching these games? This has been fun. Obviously, we stick in Chicago here, but if you need some good sports to watch and you haven't been watching it, I recommend watching that.
The Mavericks look real good.
They do. They do.
Luca is the villain we all needed.
I know. He gets under people's skin, man.
He really, I mean, do you hear his press conferences afterwards? The guy is awesome. Like, I love it. We need that. We need Luca. And they're taking it to Minnesota. I thought Minnesota would take this series.
So did I. The way that they were rolling.
Yeah, and they're getting mud stomped.
That Mavs team is really impressive.
Yeah, and that the NBA finals I think are going to be really good. We're gonna, I'm guessing the Celtics will wrap this up today. By the time you're listening to this, I'm gonna guess the Celtics will wrap this up, and we'll get a really good. Will the Celtics finally do it, or will Luka snatch their souls from them?
I don't know. I could see it going either way.
Oh, absolutely. I was sure this would be, the Timberwolves, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. But the way Dallas has been playing, man, if they win it, I'm not gonna be surprised either team winning it. I'm not putting any money on it, but it's I won't be shocked either way. And the NHL playoffs have been really great.
They have. This Rangers team has been fun to follow.
I just really hate the Rangers and the Panthers. And I hate Dallas. So I'm rooting for the Oilers. I have a buddy who is he's Canadian. He's a diehard Oilers fan. Lives in near Calgary though, but he's not from there. So he's like, yeah, I live in Flames country, but I'm an Oilers fan. But he's a diehard guy, and if it's three teams I hate versus a Canadian team, I'm going Canadian team every time. Let the Canucks have the Canadians, the Hosers. Let the Hosers have the cup for 1 year before we snatch it back from them.
Yeah, right.
Was there anything else you wanted to say?
Nope, said my piece.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her, you can have her, she's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears! Oh, when the Bears go bearing down